And lots to come between now and 4 o'clock. We talk rugby league for the next hour. You can text us anytime on 8833. Jump aboard the phone lines if you want to, 0800 150 811. Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad, we will try again this week, Kempy. And don't worry, I've done a couple of messages today. He's all good to go.
I just want to say something, Sammy. I just want to say something because it's unlike you. You're really professional, but I just want you to try and explain this.
In terms of the errors so far this evening, the Bulldogs 4 to the Warriors 2. 2 penalties conceded each team, 2 ruck infringements each team, as we see. It's called word economy, Kempy. You take ruck, you take infringement,
you that nervous because I wasn't there?
Ruck infringements.
Were you that nervous because I wasn't there?
That's the thing, Kempy. It's like... you're sort of like my wife at times, It's a safety net, but also a curse. So I felt you breathing down my neck.
It's as good as your clock call.
Well, not quite. Not quite. Did feel you breathing down my neck, though. But having Blake Acey was fun as well. First time for him in the commentary box. Don't worry, I don't think he's going to take your job anytime soon, Kippy. But he didn't notice it, so I actually put a bit of blame on him as well for not calling. Was he too nervous? Maybe he was too nervous.
He was.
But anyway, we'll talk a little bit about that game very, very shortly. The Warriors winning over the Bulldogs, a good win, and 2 points heading into the bye where they get another 2 points, of course. We've got no game this weekend, given they've had the bye. So we will catch up with Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad very shortly, and any questions that you have for Charnze, you can text her on 8833. Between 3:30 and 4, though, we'll have a look at some of the games this weekend. We'll talk some Origin as well. That's been a hot topic this week, particularly over in Aussie, but I know Kempy and Izzy, you guys put your teams together as well. We've already got a text from Jimmy on your Queensland team, Kempy, so we'll get to that very, very shortly. But yeah, get your texts in for Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad, who will get around about 3:15 on the program. Really looking forward to that. So let's have a quick glance over the weekend's NRL that happened 3 or 4 days ago, Kempy, and the Warriors with a win over the Bulldogs. And interesting, actually, because me and you do the call, we obviously spend a lot of time talking about it post-game and sort of analyse it. We didn't obviously get to do that. So this is sort of the first time I get to talk to you about the game. I called it in the first half. I thought that was probably the best half of footy they've played this season, up 18-0 at the break. Fell away a little bit in the second half, allowed the Bulldogs to come back in, but you must be pretty happy if you're Andrew Webster with a bounce back like that.
Well, he was too, and we got him on Monday on the breakfast show, and he talked about probably showing a little bit too much emotion, but knowing the importance of the 2 points, and we'd spoken about it, Sammy, like 4 weeks ago, we said it'd be nice to get 4 points coming out of these next 4 games, and the bye was included in that. And I think that when you look at the way that it shaped up, it was vitally important because they sit in the 8. They're not going to lose that position because they pick up the 2 points this week, and then they go in against the Broncos. And I think in a 3-week patch before their next bye, which should hold them in good stead, because they could actually win the next 3 games. Yeah. And they could actually start to cement themselves in the 8. I think what happened the other night when the Warriors played the Bulldogs, there's a couple of things for me. I thought when news came out on Tuesday that the Fox was back playing and that the team looked pretty solid. And then we're playing up, after that 11-day 3-game stint, they were going to be up against it, And then all of a sudden, come Thursday night, no, the Fox isn't playing, and all of a sudden a couple of other players are out, and they got a couple of young blokes making debuts, and I reckon... without them saying too much, they would have got a little bit of lift, the Warriors, from that, given the fact that on the back of what the effort they had put in for the previous 3 weeks over that short period they had done, they knew that they had a decent chance of going out to win this game. And I think you saw that in the first half. I think that's basically what happened. They went out in the first half and said, let's put them away. And Shaun Johnson, again, the difference in the game, like if you go over the stats, and you're watching the game, you're going, man, it's so close. The completions are really good. No one's making any errors. They're playing a little bit of chess here. But the difference was the decision-making and the kicking of Shaun Johnson in that first half. I know Burton put a few up in the second half that were a bit wobbly. But in the first half, Shaun Johnson was on the money. And yes, he had that early kick after that break where he tried to go to the wing again. He scored a try in the first half off it. I thought at the time, because they got a bit of a call when Reynolds had that ball declared to be raked out, and they got that right, thank goodness. He probably looked back on that if they lost the game, and it would haunt him for a little while. But mate, he was the difference in that first half, and they held on in the second half. I put it down, and I said this morning, they went from fifth gear and they just pulled it back into fourth and cruised through that second half because they knew that they just weren't being threatened.
Yeah, no, Bulldogs attack just had nothing, especially in that first half. Like, I think I only counted 3 or 4 tackles in the final 20. So the Warriors did a great job. And I think the pack as well, Kemp. I know Sean obviously gave them some great field position, but the pack really stepped up as well, just winning the battle of the middle, which you always talk about, and making easy meters. I mean, every set we were putting ourselves in a good position to score. Yeah,
well, Adam Whanua-Blake's on a rich vein of form, and you put Tua Harrison, that little pass that Dylan Walker put on with the little fake head to the sweeper and hit that front runner, which was Adam Whanua-Blake, just running that fantastic line. They're setting the platform, and they have been setting the platform around those blokes, including Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad, who I thought was the best player on the pitch. The amount of work that he did throughout their game, especially in the second half, to hold them together is phenomenal. And I think if you're wondering where's Roger playing, he ain't playing fullback next year.
No, and look, plenty of questions that have come through both on social media and on the text machine about asking Charnze about that. I'm sure we'll figure out a way of putting it to him, can be very, very shortly. Just looking at the games after the bye, so you mentioned Broncos up down in Napier. We'll be down there for that one next Saturday night, and then Dolphins and Raiders, which are probably 2 winnable games as well. The back half of the season, very favourable for the Warriors. So they get the bye in round 16, then it's the Dragons away, the Rabbitohs back at home, the Eels away, Sharks at home, Raiders home, another bye, Titans away, Tigers away, Seagulls home, Dragons home, Dolphins away. I mean, that particularly after that round 22 bye is a very, very tasty run home. You'd argue the hardest part of the Warrior season is out of the way.
Well, I know as a coach, and definitely know as a player playing under coaches, that you target blocks of games. And, of course, getting to this 12th round bye, it was really important to be in the 8. Because on the back of it, with 2 byes still to come, and I think this one after the bye, Brisbane, you've got bye Brisbane, you go and play the Dolphins, you don't know what you're going to get there, you can easily beat them, and of course then you've got Canberra. I reckon they're all winnable games, so I think if you can go into that, getting two of those 3 games, and then you get the bye, then you start to look like a really solid 8 team. Come out of that bye, like St. George losing Anthony Griffin this week, they're going to pick themselves up. I reckon they'll get this game against the Roosters this weekend. I think the Roosters are in disarray at the moment. People are asking about Tedesco and why he's going so poorly. Well, you would go so poorly too if you couldn't settle on your halves. Your hooker was playing like a busted gumboot, and you lose Joey Manu. You know what I mean? Yep. So Tedesco can't do it all.
You think the Dragons get them this week?
I do, and
wow.
I think a lot of that always happens when you lose a coach and the players get a bit more comfortable making all those changes, getting those players back in. There'll be a shift in attitude there, no doubt. And I just think their run home against scratchy teams, they play the Rabbitohs at home, which is really good. They play the Sharks at home, but everyone else that they play away are beatable, and I think that's really important for their run home. So, we haven't had any luck through the first 12 rounds, Sammy, as far as getting our full team on the pitch. The other part that's really exciting about here, if we can get through the next 3 weeks, pick up two out of 3 wins, I'm hoping, plus a bye, then I reckon in the 4th and 5th week when we start getting players back, they're going to start to build towards the semis.
100%. I think, we're not even near full strength either, which is, you think the excitement that's going to build when you get the likes of Barnett and Tamati Martin and Jazz Tavanga, these guys all coming back in. Like I said it last week, I think we're borderline a top 4 side when we get all those guys back. We're going to take a short break. Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad is going to join us on the other side. If you do have any questions, 8833. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube as well. You can put your comments in the comment section there and we will pick them up. Running it straight here on SENZ, thanks to South Seas Healthcare, Auckland's largest Pacific wellbeing service provider. Back in a mo. Well, 17 minutes past 3 here on Running It Straight, and time now to bring in really the fan favourite of 2023, Kempy. Certainly talked about as being one of the best signings of recent memory. It is the man wearing the number 1 jersey at the fullback position. It is Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad. He joins us on the line now. G'day, Charnze.
Hey, team. How's it going?
Mate, we're doing very well. Now, one thing that we did have to ask you right off the bat, because there's probably about 100 different variations of your name pronounced across a weekend of NRL from Aussies and Kiwis. Mate, we've got here Nicoll-Klokstad. Can you just maybe clarify it once and for all how your last name's properly pronounced?
Yeah, Nicoll-Klokstad.
Klokstad, there you go, Kempy. We got it right, mate. We must be the only ones. That's why they pay us the big bucks.
Hey, Charnze, it's Kempy, mate. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. It's a really good position for you guys to be in, I guess, going into the bye, finding yourselves in the 8. You must be happy with the start of the season?
Yeah, no, it's a really good position for us to be in. We've really set up our season leading into the bye, and for us, it's just about, resting the body, resting the mind, and getting back into it when we need to.
Mate, just tell us the importance of your first and your last carries in a set, just to give some, I guess, context to people that are watching you play. What does it do for the team?
Yeah, so I guess my job as a fullback is just to try and ease a little bit of, I guess, energy for the bigger boys, and a part of that is being able to take that last carry before we kick. So then, one, they get a rest not having to carry the ball, and two, it gives us a fuller defensive line on the kick chase. So there's a couple elements there.
Yeah, nice. Thank you for that. That's such good knowledge to share with everyone. Mate, and the body, how is the body putting up with all the amount of football that you've been playing?
Yeah, body's good, thank you. Just general soreness after the game. A little bit sore depending on how physical the game is, but it's all generally all the same these days. But really enjoying being able to play, like you said, a little bit more consistent NRL game time footy.
Lots of questions coming in from our listeners, Charnze. We'll get to them very, very shortly. Just on your role as a fullback, and it's a position in the NRL that we see so much variation across players and teams. You've got fullbacks that are out and out try scorers. You've got fullbacks that are really good ball carriers and runners. Ones like yourself that are really good sort of meter readers. Do you see the role sort of evolving and changing depending on who you're playing, or has Webby sort of set aside a specific role for you and that's just what you do week in, week out?
Yeah, you sort of have to evolve, mate. It's a game that's evolving on its own, and if you don't evolve, you're going to get left behind. So, I guess for me, it's just about making sure that I'm consistently doing the stuff that I'm doing well at the moment, week in, week out, and just trying to add a few strings to my bow here and there. Whether it's adding a pass here or maybe a grubber next week, we'll have to see and wait and see.
Yeah, love to see that one busted out. Who do you sort of model your game off, mate? Is there an idol of yours growing up, or maybe even someone who's still playing?
Yeah, it's I guess there's a couple people that I like to try and base my game around. I think the biggest mold is the man himself, who's coming back next year. So, and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, and I really love the support game of Tommy Turbo, Clint Gutherson. Dylan Edwards is, I reckon, right now the all-rounded fullback of the modern game. So he'll definitely be up there too. Yeah,
he's the unsung hero in any of the competition, yet can't make any of the representative sides. And it's good to hear you talk about RTS because he is coming back next year, mate. And it would be remiss of us not to ask the question. Were you in discussions beforehand, before they sign him as a marquee fullback? And are you confident that that'll be your position next year?
Yeah, when we were talking, at that time, or sort of before, anything else was sort of sorted in terms of recruitment wise. And when I did sign here, it was to play fullback, especially when Webby signed as coach. He told me straight off the bat, it's where he wants me to play, and that's where I'll be playing my footy, I think, moving forward. And for me, it's just, I'm really excited to be able to have the opportunity to rub shoulders with RTS again. He was someone that, like I said, I've molded my game around, and he's definitely my favourite player. So, who wouldn't be happy being able to rub shoulders with their favourite player?
Yeah, no, that's awesome perspective. We've got lots of messages coming in from our listeners, Charnze. I'll just put a couple to you here. One's from Nathan, and it sort of, I guess, goes to you just talking about there getting re-signed back as the number one. That's how Cappy and Andrew Webster sort of came to you. Tell us a little bit about, and this is what Nathan said, the biggest difference that you've noticed from when you were back at the club, 3 or 4 years ago to where it's at now.
I think the biggest change, for me, it is a little bit hard to say because I was, I only did really play 7 games in my 3 to 4 year stint here the first time. So it is a little bit hard for me to say what has changed. But I guess something that I have been enjoying while I have been here has definitely been the camaraderie and I guess the effort that the boys are wanting to make to hang out with each other outside of footy. And I think that really makes such a big difference on the footy field because, if you know your mate off it, it's generally going to help with doing stuff for your mate on it. And I really feel like there's a real confidence about us, not only as a team but individually, and I think that comes from Webby. That was a big part of something I got really excited about during preseason, and I feel like it's starting to see the results.
Another question here from Dylan says, can you ask Charnze who the most underrated player, current and former, that fans and the media maybe don't know about, but all the lads knew was the man? That's from Dylan.
Oh, I guess, underrated. I feel like we've got, it's been nice for me coming back the second time because I've seen a lot of young boys that were here sort of come up and, really make a name for themselves. You got Adam Pompey, who else? Jazzy's been doing really well for himself, Bunty as well. These all boys that sort of started out when I was first here, and they've gone on to create really good careers for themselves. So it is a hard one for me to say. I think the thing I've enjoyed is really seeing the young boys, grow up and make a name for themselves in their own rights, I think.
Yeah, some good youngsters coming through as well. Shannon asks, can you ask Charnze what his game day routine is? Can you enlighten us on what you do on game day?
Oh, game day. Depending on the game or the time of the game, you genuinely get a nap in, definitely. So, so if we wake up, we'll start with breakfast. Then it'll be a team walk after that, and if it's at home, it'll be me and my wife. We'll go for a walk. We now have a puppy, which is hard work, but we'll take them for a walk. And then back for lunch and a nap, and then onto the game. So that's generally what it looks like for me. And I know a lot of boys are different, so yeah, that's my routine.
That's awesome. Stace says, can you ask Charnze who he supports for State of O? Everyone's got a team, mate. Who do you put the colours on for?
Yeah, when I was growing up, it was New South Wales, but as I've sort of grown up, I guess, and having one of my other favourite players actually coaching the Maroons, it's sort of hard to go past Queensland now, eh?
Oh, don't say that, mate.
Queensland.
No, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
It is, mate. Oh, well, I only go for one team in State Origin, and that's the Kiwis. No one else. But that's hey, that's me, Chase. Hey, Chase, just want to ask you a question about the competition. What's really surprised you this year about the competition, given what you've done down in Canberra, and has it got quicker? Is it tougher? What is it that's really surprised you?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the speed of the game has picked up a lot, but I feel like we're starting to adapt a bit better. I think I've pitched it to a few boys, so I'm wondering if this can get back to the CEO. But I thought 20-minute quarters would be nice.
Yeah, giving you more of a break. Mate,
give the boys a break.
Yeah, that's not a silly question. Like the way that they're putting breaks in, especially in the summer, and the amount of work that we're talking about players when they got over 100 metres. Now you got fullbacks and a lot of other players running over 200 metres. It won't be long before 300's the new norm. Can you see it getting that quick, where players are going to start running for 300 metres on a more consistent basis?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's where you'll get a lot of the outside backs sort of come into play, and you're already seeing it. You're seeing Brian Tor, averaging looks like 250 just about every single game, and Dylan Edwards is about the same. And then you've got a few other teams just running that, fresh. You got Hayes Perham, who was here, he ran for 240, and he's doing that quite consistently too. So I think it just allows the faster boys and the OBs to get more involved, and I feel like there's got to be a little give and take too, because if they're doing all that work, that flairness that they would have normally is probably going to be something that's sacrificed. So it'll be interesting, but I think it'll be the OBs that would get a lot more meters.
Absolutely. Just a couple to before we let you go, Charnze. Are you a real student of the game? Do you watch all the games across a weekend? Do you really sort of dig into how teams are playing and what certain players are doing? Do you really sit down and study it?
Yeah, I think I'd like to, but I feel like I can't get my Sky Sport happening over in Australia. But definitely when I got time here, that's something I'm doing, especially if we're playing them next week. But if not, we've got something called Analyzer back at Mount Smart Stadium, and you can sort of break down the game a little bit better from, try assists to start of good ball sets, whatever. It's sort of something that you're watching. But I think it sort of comes back to Webby. He sort of demands us, making sure that we're working on our own crafts as much as possible. And a part of that's making sure you're doing video on yourself and video of, the next team that we're playing.
Mm. And what do you do to, I guess, unplug, Charnze, when you're, not thinking about rugby league? Do you have an off-day routine that just sort of takes your mind away from it all?
Yeah, I sort of love to go for walks with my wife, grab a coffee. I feel like grabbing a coffee, just sitting at a cafe is something that I really enjoy doing. And if I've got my boys with me, it's just doing whatever they want to do. So that's really good for me as well. I can't go wrong with kicking the feet up and putting on some cartoons as well.
Love it.
Nice sitting back and relaxing, mate, before we have to go out there in the battle. Hey, injury-wise, mate, do you think we'll see the full-strength side out by the end of the season? Are you going to get the whole crew together to play with?
Jeez, you'd hope so, eh?
It's a war zone at the moment.
Yeah, I'm really proud of what the boys, we boys are able to do. I think if we can, even though we haven't had our full-strength team for the majority of the year, we had Storm on their toes, we had Penrith on their toes, and a lot of it comes back to what we can control, but also having our troops on the field would help that as well. So I think, we just keep working hard. Tohu's got a saying, I don't want to butcher it, but it's something to do with working hard, creates your own luck. So I think if we can continue to keep working hard, doing what we can control, that luck will sort of swing our way, and like you said, we'll be able to get a few more games with the whole squad.
Charlie's just text through here saying, can you ask Charnze quickly what his favourite cheat food is? Your favourite cheat meal?
Oh, cheat meal. Dang. I'd have to be a throw-off between, what's that burger called? Oh, the Zinger Box.
The Zinger Box,
butter chicken.
Yeah, or a butter chicken. Interesting. Do you like the sort of radioactive mall butter chicken, or does it have to be really authentic, your local Indian?
Nah, Mum's been taking us to St. Luke's butter chicken since I was a kid. So
I love it.
I find myself having to go back there and, reminisce.
Yeah, love it, man. Hey, just before we let you go, Charnze, something that's always really struck me with you is obviously the importance that you put on your family, and just how passionate you are, not just about them, but also about the game and doing what's best for them. Just tell us a little bit about how much they do mean to you, and where that sort of comes from. Is that sort of an upbringing thing? Does that come from your parents? Where does that, I guess, value of family come for you?
Yeah, my family is very important to me. My family as my parents and my siblings. But I think now that I'm a father and I've got my own kids and my own family, it's sort of definitely, changed my outlook on things a bit, especially going through, I guess, my own challenges in the last couple of years. It's sort of, you go through the bad things to appreciate the good things a little bit more, and that's definitely the fact with my kids and my wife here. So for me, it's just about cherishing every moment that I have with them, because that time's so special. I've got family that are, unfortunately getting on, and they're sort of passing away in that, and it's definitely a bigger outlook, a bigger picture sort of mindset, and time's so precious. You got to make the most of it.
Yeah, good man, Charnze. Well said. And yes, we've listened a lot to the way that you talk about your whānau, and of course your lovely wife too, and what she's done for you through the years to get you through all the tough times as well as the good times. But mate, you go away and you enjoy your break, because you've deserved it, I'll tell you that. And we look forward to catching up with you down in Napier when we come down and call it for SENZ. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Cool as team. Thanks for having me, and see you then.
Awesome stuff. Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad there, and Kemp, he's one of my favourite Warriors to talk to. Just such a humble guy. Like I said, I think he's one of the best players in 2023, but just so humble, so down to earth, great perspective, and just a champion guy. And
a real good insight into, a couple of things there, especially when he was talking about that last carry, the importance of the first carry and the last carry, I thought was really good. But also the comment around, I'll be playing fullback next year.
Yeah.
So let's put that one to bed.
Yeah, 100%. And even though that hasn't come out officially from the likes of Andrew Webster. I think there's enough noise out there to suggest that RTS going to be playing the centres, which will be all the talk. Kemp leading into 2024. Leading into 2024. Did he play some centres at the Roosters? I know he's on the wing, but did he play?
He's sort of played in and around. Well, I'll tell you what, he's played a lot for the Blues.
It's true. Maybe it was all part of the plan. Go to the Blues, play a little bit of midfield, come back to the...
And then get a little bit of space and carve them up. Come on, Rog, come back. You just, you can come back now for the rest of the season.
Yeah, early release. No,
to push for those
no one will turn their nose up at it. Lots of comments online on YouTube through the text machine and stuff. Tried to get as many of the questions to Charnze as we could, but apologies if we did miss any there. We'll take a short break for news, sport and weather. When we come back, I'll talk a little bit about some news heading around the NRL before we tuck into this weekend's games and talk a bit of State of O as well. Back in a mo. Running it straight 25 minutes away from 4. Don't forget the One New Zealand Warriors biggest fan experience where you just call 0800 37 GO Warriors. Leave a voicemail telling us why
biggest fan.
You're the biggest fan. I've already entered a number of times. You know that. They've told me that I can't get it though, so I might put on an accent, change my name.
Change my name.
You can go into the draw to win a massive fan experience. You get a free cell phone. You can text and call Kempy as much as you want and abuse him. And you can also win
join the queue.
You can also win the game day, the One New Zealand base, home base at Now Go Media Stadium, Mount Smart. How about that? For a tongue twister, Kempy. A few questions here I'll ask you very, very shortly. But let's, while we don't have a game on this weekend for the Warriors, have a little bit of chat about the news that's going on in the NRL at the moment, because it's been a busy week in the NRL. And let's start with the story that is bubbling away each and every day, and that is Shaun Johnson and the West Tigers. And the latest rumour I saw was $600K a year, something around that region. And
it's funny that they mention a figure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But see, I know you talk about this with Super Rugby, because doesn't that just liven the whole storyline when you're talking? And this is what the North American sports do really well, is you sort of open up the door to salaries and salary caps, and it creates a whole nother layer to the conversation.
I'll tell you what, the only people that this benefits by keeping everything a secret are the player managers.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Totally.
So the player managers are the ones that are driving secrecy. The sooner they start to actually publicly announce the sign-on fees, the third-party deals, and exactly what players are getting on, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a hell of a lot better, not only just for the public and the way that they think about players, but also for the players themselves, knowing what their worth is.
Yeah, totally.
So this figure, I laugh when I see a figure being thrown out of $600,000. I'll tell you, there's only one person that comes from, and it's the player manager. All right. So do you think the West Tigers are going to come and say, oh, yeah, by the way, Sam Hewat, we've just offered Shaun Johnson $600,000. Not a chance.
Yeah, but they're talking of getting rid of Luke Brooks as well, or trading him, I don't know, sweeten the deal. I mean, we know he's on over $1 million, so in a way you're getting a bit of an upgrade on less money. So 2 questions. Firstly, Kempy, does Shaun Johnson fit at the West Tigers? And the other side of it is, do you think Shaun Johnson wants to go to the West Tigers?
Well, I don't think it's got a hell of a lot to do with the West Tigers at all. I think is the question that we need to ask and needs to be answered by the Warriors. And I thought Andrew Webster did a really good job of this on Monday. And if you haven't, just go and check out the podcast, Izzy and Kempy for Breakfast, and you can listen to what Webby said. But he basically said, well, he's at the moment negotiating his deal and he hasn't come to us yet. When he sits down with us and he's actually got something in writing that this is what I'm contemplating and I want to know where you guys are coming from, and then that's when the conversation will have. So I think the question you really need to ask is, does he fit at the Warriors and within, I guess, their strategy going forward, as far as he can play another 2 or 3 years. I'm not too sure if that's the case. So it's going to come down to the CEO, the recruitment manager, and the head coach saying, well, where's this money spent? Is it spent with Shaun Johnson? Is it better spent getting us a marquee forward? Because you got to think about it. The salary cap must be nearly tied up. And you're going to spend another $600,000. Shaun saying the part that's missing out of that conversation is it's for 2 years.
Yeah, and Shaun obviously make his own decision and go whichever way he wants to go. But when I look at it, I almost think he'd be silly to do it, because he's playing his best rugby league here back home with his family, clearly making a difference in a system that's working for him. The Tigers are, I know that they're building and that there's but even the coaching structure, they don't really know what they're doing at the moment. Is it Benji? Is it Tim Sheens? Who's taking control? It seems like a fragile environment for someone like Shaun Johnson to go to, given that he's thriving here.
Yeah, well,
you might get a couple $100,000 more.
I like what you're saying, but the reality is that he's at the back end of his career. He's been offered probably twice as much as what he'll get offered at the Warriors. Hypothetically, just a bit of a guess around that, but $600,000 over 2 years is probably 4 years worth of salary for him at the moment. And whether or not you like it, he's going to be making a decision based on his family and keeping the lifestyle that he's got. So I don't think for a minute that Shaun Johnson won't pack up and leave.
You don't? Okay.
No, not at all.
Because I also think his role at the Warriors, what it's been sold on, is very much, we've got Luke Metcalf, we've got Ronald Volkman, these two young guns bubbling away underneath, along with Tamati Martin. And I see his role as they want him to pull those guys through so that in 2 or 3 years' time when he hangs up the boots, they're ready to go.
So here's the...
So it's like a mentor role. Is he more open to something like that?
Yeah, so, if I was recruitment manager, here's where I'd be thinking. Mm-hmm. All right, Shaun Johnson gets a 10-year contract worth $1 million. All right, he's probably going to play 1 year, maybe 2, mm-hmm. All right, but he's still going to pick up $1 million, but he's going to go into the back rooms straight after playing, and we've got him for another 8 years, all right? Maybe we might pay him 150 grand a year, but he's got 10 years of his life locked into that club. Now, he's very handsome, so he's marketable through the socials, through the sponsors. He can run sponsorship rooms, he can talk, he's very good on his own social media, and he's more than just a footballer. Now, recruitment needs to start thinking that way when you've got a person of Shaun Johnson's calibre. He may be being offered $600,000 a year at West Tigers, but I'd be offering him $1 million over 10 years.
You're not,
I'd pay him it for 10 years.
You're not bad at this rugby league thing, are you?
I just think outside.
Good idea.
I just think outside the box, and I think you should never let Shaun. Personally, he is the Warriors.
Correct. He's a club. He's a franchise player. He's a face of the club, and that is why I think.
If I was marketing manager,
yeah,
I would be going to my CEO and I say, you need to sign him.
Yeah,
let's find $1 million in a sponsorship budget and let's keep him.
Yeah. A couple of quick fire questions, Kemp, before we take a break. We've got to come back with a few of the games this round. Mark says, boys, I think the Tigers are a good bet this week after the performance against Souths. Who are the Tigers playing this week? I've dropped the ball. Cowboys.
Newcastle.
Cowboys.
Oh, the Cowboys.
Yep. You reckon?
Well, no, I reckon the Cowboys are on a little bit of a run.
I reckon they've got their mojo back.
Yeah, and the Tigers, although I like the way that they're playing, I think the Cowboys may have been playing into a bit of form over the last couple of weeks, and that's scary when you know that they've got the players there. Jason Tomololo's meant to be back this weekend. That's a scary thought. Mind you, I just missed the multi last week, the 4-leg multi, but by one game. But it's, mate, I think if people think at the moment out there that they've got their mind made up on anyone except South Sydney, then I reckon you back them. Because the only team worth backing at the moment, and you can put your money and your house on, is South Sydney.
I agree. Jamie, just quick text here. Rugby League World Cup 2025, NZ. What are your thoughts?
Well, look, and people all have a crack at me and say you're always having a crack at them. Look, the same people that put this together are the same people that are now saying it's an opportunity to bring it down here. Well, you need to realise that they were the people that gave it to France and didn't do their due diligence. And, I heard Mr. Costigan talking about just the Mickey Mouse show. Look, I just think you get your laughing gear on when you talk international football. They wouldn't know how to put a rugby league game on at the new stadium. You know what I mean? They need to sort the game out. I don't know why the NRL looks so good and is so profitable and billion-dollar media right deals, and we can't get an international game to support that. And that's a sad thing about it. And the other part that people don't understand is that the game's on life support down here. So let's go and throw all of our money and bring in a little test series down here again, and in a place where our people here can't rub 2 cents together. I don't buy it for a minute, and I don't buy that this is an opportunity.
Quick text from Jimmy as well on RTS. No way RTS is fullback next year. I reckon that's already been spoken about. That's confidence killing, if not career ruining stuff for Charnze. Hopefully they've learned from the whole Sam Tonkins fiasco when they announced it early. Nobby was playing well, even outplayed Tonkins in the World Cup semi. You got ousted, and it all went downhill from there for his career. We can't have a repeat with Charnze. That's from Jimmy, and yep, I think we agree with you here, Jimmy. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll just have a quick look over this weekend's NRL games, some of the big games. We'll also talk a little bit of Origin before 4 o'clock. Running it straight, welcome back in, was just working out how I'm going to be a millionaire in the space of 5 days thanks to Tony Kemp's tips. I'll get that list off you at the end of the show.
We'll make it 3. Make it 3. We'll do it in 3, eh?
Texting in from Nate says, big Tigers fan here. Agree, I think we can give it a good go this weekend. Defensively, we've actually been really solid, and the Cowboys have won 2 on the trot, but not against anyone who's had any form. So I have to say, I'm quietly confident.
The West Tigers have had plenty.
Yeah. And Lemmy says, hi, Sam and Kempi. Kempi, would you have RTS and Charnze centres and Tane to Upuki fullback for next year? Would sharpen our defence? So maybe Charnze back in the centres or no?
Well, and I don't think that'll happen. That's a great question, and a really, it's followed up by some serious thinking around the way that Tane Tuapiki can play, because he is a very decent footballer. Whether or not he hits a strap next year, I'm not too sure. So I don't think they will do that unless they need to do that. And you've got to remember too that the likes of Montoya, Pompey, they're playing good football.
Exactly. No, they're all playing really good football.
So where we had no centres, we possibly could have 3 or 4 centres fighting it out with Roger for that other spot.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, quick fire for this weekend's game starting tomorrow night with the Broncos Panthers in Brisbane at Suncorp. No Adam Reynolds for the Broncos. Easy tip for me for the Panthers, Kempy, but you're going the Bronx.
I am.
You're delusional.
I'm going the Bronx. I know you got so much faith in Reynolds. I think they're wounded. I think going into Origin, they want a couple of players who really want to stake their claim in this game, as do Penrith. I think it'll be a great game. It is the second best game of the round, because there's another one I think that's better than that. But yeah, I reckon the Broncos at home, they're really hard to beat, mate.
They are hard to beat.
And I'll tell you who will have a big game, Reece Walsh.
Okay. Well, I'm not convinced, Kempy. I'm not convinced. Panthers, I think, at $1.36.
Yeah, take the $3.
Dragons Roosters Friday night 8 p.m. You think the Dragons are going to tip them up?
I do. I think it happens all the time. I know, and we talked about it this morning in the Americas when that happens over there, and how teams actually jump out of their skin the following week. I think the Dragons are going to come out and put a game on. The Roosters, I'm a little bit worried about them now, after the weekend and having a look at what Trent Robinson was seen to be doing, which was basically trying to get the team back in the change room. It's a scary thought. And
interesting enough, even without Joey Manu, he refuses to bring Sam Walker back into the team. Drew Hutchison starting in the number 7 jersey.
I reckon Sam Walker's leaving.
Potentially. Rabbitohs Eels, Friday night at 10 p.m.
The
Easiest
team,
tip of the round.
Mate, they're the team to beat this year.
Sharks Knights, Saturday 5 p.m.
Knights got away with it because of a couple of referee calls, I think, on the weekend. The Sharks, they still look really good. I think that the Sharks are special in that game.
Tigers Cowboys.
I'm going to go Cowboys.
Yep. Dolphins Storm.
Every time you pick the Storm, someone that travels up to play the Dolphins turn them over.
Yep.
So this weekend, I'm going to go the Dolphins.
Nice. Okay.
That's the first one of the year.
Great. Then I'll put my money on the Storm. And the Bulldogs Titans on Sunday at 4 p.m.
Well, you don't know what team the Bulldogs are going to show up. And I think the Titans were dudded against Newcastle, so I think the Titans.
Yeah, I think the Titans probably deserve more out of that game. Raiders, Seagulls, last game on Sunday.
Raiders are the other team in form at the moment over the last month.
So you said the Broncos, Panthers. What was the other game of the weekend for you?
Well, this one here is the one for me, the Rabbits and the Eels.
Okay. What do you think, that goes down to the wire, or do you just think it's a good game of footy?
Well, I just always know that South Sydney Parramatta are always a classic, and Parramatta, there's a little bit of emotion in the Parramatta camp at the moment. I don't know if you've been following the young Arthur story about being abused when he walked out of the changing room. So, I think there'll be a bit of a good game to watch.
All right, we'll take our final break. When we come back, a quick chat about some State of O. As always, we just run out of time. So many messages today and a lot of questions as well, which I haven't been able to put to Kempy. Maybe we do a little potty after this, Kempy. We'll answer all your questions. So have a listen to our podcast channels and we will answer all your questions. Right, we're not going to get to State of Origin. So here's what
it makes me laugh, Mark. He always comes in. Mark, look, I've always been back in South Sawyer, mate, and that's where they are at the moment. I'm not the one who puts a death nail in their door. It's probably...
You're the jinx, the Kempy jinx.
No, it's probably the Good Lids vibration hat over here.
Hey, all right, here's a teaser for State of Origin, Kempy. Big conversations around these State of Origin teams because there are a lot of players out of form and there's a lot of players in form as well. So 2 weeks' time, we'll do a big Running It Straight, big Origin preview. It'll be a lot of fun.
Queenslander.
That's us for another week. Hey, next Friday we're down in Napier as well for the live commentary.
Come and join us.
Come and join us.
Get a free beer.
The run home coming up next.